Hello, dear friends. Happy February. I hope you're having a wonderful day. So we're going to do a video that's a little bit different than what you're used to seeing from me. I am going to create a video that will accompany the files to my Sweet Memories 12 by 12 scrapbooking workshop. Now, you guys know I really enjoy creating inside Cricut. It's one of my favorite things to do. And the awesome thing is when you use a Cricut image and you write a file for that, when I send the file to my customers, those changes and alterations that I've made to the Cricut images transfers with the file. As you know, SVGs and digital art is unlike that, where you guys need to make the very same alterations and changes on your end if you would like your images to look like mine that you'll see inside the workshop. And so the purpose of this video today is to show you guys the exact steps that I took to make my SVG digital art look the way that you will see it replicated in the artwork for the Sweet Memories Scrapbooking Workshop. Okay, so when you guys open up that cutting guide, you are going to see the Cricut Design Space link at the bottom of those slides. Now, when you guys open up that link, you are just going to see these images here. Now, these images here are custom images that I've created using Cricut shapes. So, like I said earlier, when you guys are able to get a hold of that file, all of those alterations and custom images that I've created will all transfer, just like these here, okay? So these are going to be the print and cut images that you guys will have access to, and you don't have to do a thing to those. You'll just print those and cut those out just like you would any of the other Cricut files that you receive from me. Okay, so we're going to get these off the screen now that we're done talking about those. Now, what you guys are going to be responsible for doing is adding that Sweet Memories digital art collection to your shopping cart. Probably is one of the purchases that you made in order to qualify for the files. And you're going to be uploading those SVG images to your Cricut Design Space software. Now, I am unfamiliar with the other types of electronic cutting machines. I would venture to guess probably you guys can replicate the steps that I am going to instruct you today in the video using that type of system. They're probably called different things and such, but hopefully whether you're using Cricut or another type of software, that what I'm going to explain to you and show you will make enough sense for you guys to kind of get going on your own. So what I've done is, just to save a little bit of time, is I've went ahead and I've uploaded the SVGs from the collection that we are going to be using today. Now, I didn't use every single SVG that was in the collection, and I have broken apart some of these. So that's kind of the fun thing, is that you really can make it your own, slicing and dicing and all the good stuff, right? And I do also want to encourage you guys, whenever you're using one of the Close to My Heart digital art collections, there's usually a larger completed 12 by 12 scrapbook page, right? Like as you'll see here. And so what I love to do is I love to go in there and pull out some things from this layout and use them by themselves. So there are actually very few times, in fact, I can't ever think of a single time that I've used the layout as is, but I have absolutely picked and chose and grabbed fun things out of there so that I can use those individually. And that's what you guys are going to see again in the workshop. So what we're going to do is we're just going to start to kind of help me keep my brain on track. Again, I've never done a video like this before. So you guys know I tend to be a little bit scatterbrained, maybe a little bit long-winded, all the things, right? And so we're just going to try to go ahead and follow along with the cutting guide, and we'll try to stay on track, okay? So after you guys are looking at the cutting guide, again, you can get this over on my blog, justcrazyblessed.blogspot.com. You probably will see it over on my business Facebook page. I usually will show the artwork of the workshop and give you guys the links on how you can get the files. So the fun thing about the SVG collections is that you guys can absolutely change the color scheme of this. So maybe if you are grabbing the cutting guide to the workshop, but you have another paper pack that you want to work with, you can go in and change the color scheme on these images and either cut them out using cardstock if you would like, or my preferred method at this current time is the print and cut. And so you guys can kind of take those and tweak those, but we're going to go through and just work page by page on the cutting guide. So the first page of the cutting guide that has the that has the SVG images, you are going to see a page that has butterflies, leaves, and the fun little film strip. So the film strip that I'm going to be using is inside this big 12 by 12 layout. So we're just going to ungroup that, and I want to grab that out of there. Okay. So it's kind of small, but we're going to grab that. We can, of course, make it bigger. I know that we want that. We already have the camera. I'm just going through here, and I'm going to go ahead and grab a few other things that I know that we will need. We're going to need the viewfinder. I guess we could make our screen a little bit bigger. I tend to work with my screen. I tend to make it go up and go down depending on what I'm actually doing. Let's see. We have the flower, I believe. We have the film strip. Okay, so I think all we need is this fun little guy here. That may be all. Let's see. Yeah, we have a flower over there. So what we're going to do, just in case we need to go back and grab this, we are going to hover over it. For some reason, my mouse has been sticking. I'm not really sure why. We'll hover over that, and we're just going to go ahead and group it and hide it so it's out of the way. But if we need to go back and get a hold of it later, it's not gone too far. We've just hidden it from our canvas, okay? So now what we're going to do is, let's go ahead and get some of these back up here. When I work on a canvas, guys, it's just usually kind of a hot mess, okay? There's things flying everywhere, literally layered on top of each other and all the things, right? So that is kind of what we're going to do here. We're going to go ahead and put them all back together. Now, what we will go ahead and work on first is let's work on our film strip. So if you guys are looking at the cutting guide, you will see the sizes on there. Now, most every image has either a height or a width, but not both. There are times that an image will have a height and a width, and that just means that we need to unlock that ratio, and it means it's been scaled a little differently than how it was originally designed. But if it only has one height or width, usually I will pick the number that is just the, not the funky, 1.37822 kind of thing, right? So our film strip is going to have a height of 8.75, but you guys know we like to put the black offset and all that good stuff around it. So we're going to wait on that part. But what we're going to do first, let's go ahead and work on our film strip. There are a few things that we are going to add to our film strip. So it is going to cut out, if you were either to cut it with cardstock or with a print and cut, you can see inside the little edges of our little film strip here, you can see the grid line, which means it's going to cut that hole out. Well, I don't really like to have all of those individual holes back inside my Cricut images. I want that to be just one flat image so that if it is overlapping a photo or some pattern paper or something like that, I don't have all of that little teeny tiny different patterns peeking through all of those bajillion holes. I don't like the look of that. So what I like to do is I want to make that white. So I'm going to go up here and I'm going to grab a shape. And we are going to just, I'm going to unlock it, of course. And it doesn't matter what size we're working with right now on the canvas, because we'll go in and change that when we get the overall image done. So you can see I've just layered a shape right on top of where all those holes are. I'm going to change it to white. I am going to copy it and duplicate it. So we're going to bring this other one down here. So it's covering up those empty holes, right? So you're not going to be able to see what is underneath it. So then I'm going to grab my film strip and bring it to the front. So now you can see the grids inside the big windows, right? And those windows are going to be perfect for adding a small photo or some decorative paper, just like you'll see that I have done on the artwork. But I want those little ones to be covered up, and you can see we don't see the grid lines now. So I am going to we have, let's see, we've got the white lines behind there. What I want to do next is we're going to click on the film strip again, and I want to add a bit of a black offset. So I'm going to come up here. I've clicked over here, and as you guys have seen in previous videos where I've talked you through some of these alterations, is I really like to kind of work over in the layers panel when I'm able, because there's less moving and shifting of the images. My hand, I have some trimmers and that kind of thing. And so if I move this, then all of the things that we have done underneath it will all get kind of out of whack and it causes problems, and we'll have to go put them all back together. So we'll just play over here in the layers panel. It keeps everything a little bit easier. And so what we're going to do is I am going to change my offset. We're going to move this all the way down here to probably, let's see. Let's do the 0.028. I tell you, I have really been having much better luck using my little, I'll place my cursor on the little circle here, and then I use my arrow keys to make it the numbers larger or smaller. That has been working a lot better than going in and using the numbers of the offset. Like whenever I go in here and I'll get rid of the 0.028 and I'll put in a different number, my software's just been really glitchy, and it won't increase that or decrease it. It's a little bit frustrating, but I have found that it's a little bit easier to go in and just use that little toggle switch. So that is kind of what I've been getting in the habit of doing. So now I have this really pretty black offset here. I'm going to just kind of check to see what the scale looks like, and I'm going to flatten it because that's overall what we're going to be doing is flattening it. And I tell you what, I want a little bit bigger, bolder black on there. So I know the 0.28 is not going to be enough, so I'm going to unflatten it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab that offset again, and we're going to get rid of it. Let's try again. So it's going to come back in with the previous number that we used, which was the 0.028. So we're going to bump it up a couple. So let's try the 0.056, and we'll see if we're happy with that. So we're going to apply. Then we'll go in and hover this and flatten it. Now that's perfect. I love the look of that. So that looks great. Okay, so let's just make sure that we have the entire thing flattened. And so our white strip will be a portion of our print and cut now, okay? So the, let's see, looking back at our file, the height is 8.75, which is technically width on here, but it's okay. It's all gonna work out fine. So we've moved this to 8.75, okay? So I am keeping it that gray color. Layout number 7 uses that gray color. There are other times that we are going to change the color and change the scaling and all of that, but we're not going to do that this particular time. So we will have this, and we're going to duplicate it because we need 2 of them. And so this will be ready to go on that first page of our cutting file. Okay, so we're just going to set this aside. We won't even need to mess with it. We'll set it aside. If you guys, when you're working, you can hide them if you want, or leave them there on the canvas. It's totally up to you. Some of them will just completely duplicate, and we'll cut many, many, many of them. And so you'll do the work one time, and then you will not have to revisit that. So the next one that I see on this sheet, again, I like to kind of make them bigger or smaller. It makes it a little bit easier to mess with. So we've got a great big butterfly on here, and I want to have different colors on my butterfly. I want that back layer panel to not be blue. I want it to be ballerina. So I'm going to come up here and click on the ballerina color. Then I'm going to go back over here to my layers panel. On that top panel, I want that to be the mulberry. So I'm clicking on that. Then I'll come back over here to my mulberry palette. Perfect. Okay, so now the butterfly on the canvas is going to match the color scheme of the butterfly that I use. So now what I want to do is I want to add a little bit of that black offset around those individual pieces. So let me just show you what it looks like when you don't do this part, okay? And I've shared this with you guys before, but let's pretend that we're happy with the way that it looks. See all the black in between the 2 color tones? That goes away when you flatten it. Okay, you see the difference there? That is very sad and needs the black outline. This one is more along the lines of what I like. So what we need to do is we're going to unflatten it since we are going to use the print and cut feature. We are unflattening. Well, I did unflatten. There we go. We're going to delete that and do another one. That's why we usually will keep a second one on our canvas. So now what we will do is let's go on and we'll ungroup them. Okay, so I'm going to click on the top more delicate layer of the butterfly, which is the mulberry, and we're going to go in here to the offset. Now we don't want a 0.056. That's going to be wild. Let's bring it back down to that 0.28. I think that's what we're going to want. And so we'll click apply and see what that looks like. Okay, so you can see this black offset is bolder than this one over here. So let's check it, okay? Let's just flatten it and see what happens. Okay, that looks nice. That's what we want. But if you guys are looking at the cutting file, there is still a much bigger, bolder black offset around the entire butterfly. So we have it, we will unflatten it. But what we are going to do is go ahead and group it so that our butterflies don't get kind of out of whack, okay? So now what we want to do is go back to the offset, and we are going to bump this up again. So I'm just using my little toggle arrows down here, and we will bump it up to the 0.056 and see if we're happy with that. So it's a little bit bolder that we want on the cutting file, as you guys can see. Let's just check this. I do this multiple times. That looks really nice. I like this, okay? So you guys can see, this is what the butterfly would look like all by itself if we didn't touch anything and we flattened it to use a print and cut. That's what it's gonna look like. But after our alterations, this is what it will look like when it pops out from our printer and we cut it out that way. Okay, so you can see if you don't like the boldness of the black offset, you do not have to, you don't have to do that. If you would rather have it a little bit muted without that black, then that is going to be your jam over to the left. Okay, so now that we have our butterfly done, this is going to be a butterfly you guys are going to use on multiple layouts, and there are many different sizes, or I'm sorry, not many, there's 3 different sizes. You've got a big one, a medium sized one, and a smaller one. And so the one on that first, there's 2 different sizes on the cutting guide. One of them is going to be 1.5, and another one is going to be 1 inch. Okay, and again, there's a 1.5, I believe a 2, and a 1 inch. But whatever your cutting guide says regarding the size of your butterfly, that's the size that you'll need to make it. But they're all the exact same. Okay, you don't have to do any other alterations to your butterfly other than what we just did. You're just going to change the size and duplicate it as necessary, or however many times that you need to have it. Okay, so we'll set the butterfly out of the way. We don't need that anymore. We now need our little green leaf here. So we are going to ungroup it. I know that we don't need the blue flower, so we're just going to get that out of our, off of our canvas. We're going to keep our, I want to keep that little, flower up there grouped together. So now again, I kind of pull them apart, make them bigger, make them smaller. I just kind of have a funky way of working on my canvas. So I apologize if that kind of makes you guys crazy. What we're going to do is we will ungroup this, and we're going to work with this top layer. I actually believe I just completely got rid of that back layer, but we'll see what happens. Okay. I want to keep it the sage color, so we don't have to do anything to the color palette up here, but let's work on our offset. I wanted my leaf to have a really nice, black, a bold bit to it. So let's click on that. We're going to click apply and see what happens. See, never be afraid. Go down here to your flatten or unflatten and see what it's going to look like when you get done with it. Okay. So what I actually noticed is that I had a little bit bigger offset. It was a little bit bolder. So let's go ahead and try our offset again. Again, guys, if you click on, put your cursor on the little circle up here. Okay, and then use your arrows on your keyboard to toggle them bigger or smaller. Okay, so you can see that this little blue line here is going to show you where that offset is going to go. Okay, if you guys want to have a little peak of white in there or a peak of another color, then you can leave it there. I have mine completely filled in black. So I'm going to click apply. Now you can see we've got a pretty black offset around here. I'm just going to see what this looks like when we flatten it. Okay, perfect. So we're going to unflatten it. We're going to go back to work. So I want to have this all black here. So I'm just going to make it easy on myself. I'm going to change my back layer to black. We'll put that back behind there, toggle over top of it, and align center. So now you have all of your pieces. We'll hover over it and flatten it. There we go. Okay, so now your black leaf looks like my black leaf, and there are 2 sizes to this leaf inside the workshop. One is 2 inches, the other is 1.5 inches. So depending on what you guys, which layout you guys are working on, you will change them to either 2 inches or 1.5 inches and duplicate as necessary. Okay, so we're done with the first page. Now we are going to go into and grab, let's see, we'll grab our camera. we have our camera on here, and I'm going to have to watch my time. I have to do these videos in 30-minute increments. So just want to make sure that we do not miss out on our time. So we're looking at our camera. Now we're going to add the black offset to these top layers. Okay. So I'm going to ungroup my camera up here, and then I'm going to work over in the layers panel. And so on the top layer of the flower, we're going to keep the colors the same on this one as well, guys. So we're not going to have to worry about our hex colors up here in our color palette. Okay. So we're going to click on the top delicate layer of the flower, and we want to add a black offset. We do not want the 97. So we're just going to move that down a little bit. I think probably that 28 is what we're going to go for again. So let's try that. Okay, that looks nice. Now let's come over here to the blue, the mist color of our camera. And it's always going to pop up at default. It's going to be the last number that you use. So the 0.28. So it makes it nice whenever you do multiples on a single image. If you want them all to match, that is really nice how that works out that way. Okay, so we've got the 28 on both layers. So let's just hover over this and flatten it, and let's see what happens. Okay, that looks really nice. So I'm happy with the look of the inside offset, but I want a really nice bold black offset. So I'm going to group this. We're going to go back up here to offset, and I am going to use my toggle arrows to pop over here, and let's just see. You can see my software is thinking this is a lot of math for this software to be coming up with. It is not an easy thing for it to do. Okay, so it's still thinking. You can see, still thinking. Oh my gosh, look at that. I love it. Okay, I love it. Now, you can see if you guys are looking at this image versus the image that I have used on the workshop, you can see all these the grids behind the little white windows. I don't like that because your blade is going to go in there and cut out all of those, and it just really looks kind of like janky. That's a great word for it. Okay. I don't really like that. So I'm going to show you guys another trick that will work really well if you want to fix that. So come over here to your offset feature. This is your biggest one. Okay. And the red exclamation marks are on here because this is sized on my canvas too big to be used as a print and cut image. And so we're gonna size it down so it's not gonna matter, but that's where the red arrows are coming from. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna change this offset print and cut. We're gonna go up here to operation, and we're gonna click basic, okay? So if it's basic, it's gonna allow us to use the contour feature. So let's click contour. We want it to hide all contours. That's going to get rid of all of these. See all these teeny tiny little pieces where our blade is going to hit? We don't want any of that, right? So hide all contours. Now let's close this. Now you can see this is a complete full offset with no white grid window showing there, right? But what we want to do is we want to go back up and change it to black. And we also will change it to print and cut. Okay, so you guys see how we did that? So now we'll group that back again. It's all flattened, and you are going to be, let's see, we've got height at 1.75. Okay, so it looks crazy because my screen is so blown up, but this is what we've got. Now there are a few cameras that you're going to need with the floral on the right, and there are a few cameras that you'll need the floral on the left. So the only thing you have to do is duplicate this. You'll duplicate it obviously as many times as necessary. Go up here to your flip option and click flip horizontal. So now you can see you've got your flower on your left and your flower on your right. And so then you'll go ahead and you will duplicate those as many times as necessary. Okay. So we're going to be out of time for this one, guys. And so join me for part 2.